Oh my god, he's going to go around the inside. He's going to send it. He's taking the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix on the last lap. Matt Turner takes the win in a remarkable race. We have teammates coming together. How devastating! Welcome in one and all to the iFormula League Formula 3 series here, round number 11 from the Red Bull Ring, the Austrian Grand Prix. I am one of your commentators here, Alyssa Long, joined by the lovely Carlos Guital, as always, here for the Formula 3 series. And Carlos, we've got an amazing race here today, haven't we?
Yeah, it's another round of the F3 here at the Red Bull Ring. Awesome track to drive. And we got a couple of new drivers here, so let's see what they can do here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, getting new drivers in is always really, really good, and being able to see what they can do, especially in, for example, the session we're going into now, qualifying, is always going to see sort of where they stack up as a very sort of quick announcement to the series. But one thing we do need to get through before we get to the qualifying times right now is take a look at our F3 standings. We pop them up on the screen for you. Victor Barris and Antonio Jimenez currently leading the championship for DriveX Esports, and pretty much running away with it, to be honest, in terms of the team standings. Lumos doing a great job to be where they are and competing against the CUDA Works team, but maybe not necessarily having the drive to compete with where DriveX are. Then Jake Potts is currently sat in third for the Lumos team, followed off by Frederick Larson, who had a great result yesterday in the Formula 2, so we'll see whether or not he's taken anything and can actually push himself now into the top 3 of the championship. So look for Frederick Larson to be challenging Jake as much as he can. Then we get to the CUDA team of Brandon Walker and Julie Redman, and both of them currently tied on points, so that's really, really cool to see that no matter who's in that car, it's going to be a pretty quick one. So we'll have to wait to see how those two do, especially when it comes to competing against the Lumos guys. Obviously, those are the ones that they're competing for the team standings for second place in. But Orion Racing also pretty close to them as well. So we'll have to see how that battle sort of unfolds and develops going forward into the later part of the season. Obviously, after this round, only 3 more left: the Canadian Grand Prix, Zandvoort, and Silverstone. So it's coming near the end of the season now, so every point is available and every point is going to be crucial here. And then, as we were talking about points that are crucial, James Miller having a pretty good string of results recently and really pushing the Lumos team up there into a really good spot in the teams championship. So we'll have to see if he can continue his pace, and especially keeping up with his teammate Jake Potts. Joe Watts in 8th with Tico Kriegsman in 9th. And then we have Danny O'Keefe, who rounds out the top 10, but obviously a whole skew of entries. We have 49 registered drivers for this league. Not 49 cars on track, though. At the moment, there is just, I believe, 24 of us. I believe it's 24. I could be wrong on that one, but I think it's 24 drivers so far.
Yeah, it's 24.
As I say, we're in qualifying right now. 5 minutes has already gone, and let's take a look at where we are sort of times-wise. So at the moment, Julie Redman is currently our pole position with a 25.69, so great lap from Julie, and showing off that that CUDA car definitely feels like it's got pace this weekend. And Frederick Larson, as we mentioned, is currently improving on his lap time, so, and just as I say that, does stick it on pole. So Frederick doing a great job for the Orion team and sticking it on pole position. And then Brandon Walker, Julie's teammate, finally puts in a decent lap from himself to put himself 3rd place. So the CUDA team doing an amazing job, but Matt Turner puts himself now right in between it all, puts himself in the mix, and we'll see if we can jump on board with some of these absolutely amazing cameras, by the way, provided to us by Track Cams for Gourmet. Absolutely amazing job. If you want to get yourself some really, really nice cameras to spectate while you're in your iRacing Enduros or just whatever iRacing content you're doing or whatever replays you've got, Track Cams for Gourmet, definitely the place to go. But, Carlos, let's talk a little bit about qualifying right now. Is there anyone who's sort of impressing you so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's an unusual sight at the front of the grid there, with some, quick drivers, but there's someone missing, and I think it's not very long until we see them there at the top. I'm talking, of course, of Victor Barris, and who just crossed the line and sticks it on pole, as I was expecting. So, they probably were just doing their laps, and now Jimenez comes here to probably put it on top of his teammate, so even quicker. And now I just expect, the usual thing to keep happening, where these drivers just keep pushing each other up. There's 3/10 from Larson to Barris there, so they still need to do. They still have some work to do. But I think these drivers will now see, as usual, they'll see, okay, the car can take a bit more. I still have time, so maybe I'm gonna risk a bit more and try to get some more lap time out of the car.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen it before in a lot of these qualifying sessions where sort of the first few laps are always going to be your sort of banker laps, and as you go further through the session, that's when you'll start really jumping into your faster laps and really starting to give everything that the car has. And one driver who's been consistently doing that, as I say, obviously the DriveX team we look at to be up there on your top positions, first and second, but another driver who's been constantly doing that in the past couple of races has been Brendan Walker and his teammate Julie Redmond, by the way. I mean, the CUDA team, right, they started off sort of in the F3 at least. They've started off as sort of this, I wouldn't say like as one of the strongest teams, but definitely a team that is starting to push that sort of upper limit for where these guys can go. And I think they're going to start finding that later into this season, sort of in the last couple of rounds, especially when we go to the likes of Silverstone and Zandvoort, that they are arguably now, if they had this pace like the entire season, they'd arguably be called title contenders. That is sort of where that's where I'd put them.
Yeah, I've been impressed with them the last couple of races. Obviously, I wasn't commentator since race 1, and I think I have the same idea from being present in the league. You hear about the other series as well. Obviously, I'm an F2 driver, so yeah. But with what I can gather from the other series from the start, these guys didn't seem to be that much faster. They were also racing F2 at some point before some rule changes saw them revert back to F3, and they didn't seem at all to be anywhere near the top spots. But obviously CUDA is not just these two drivers, so they've probably worked together, the whole group, to improve the racing capacity of the whole team, really, which is it's great for them that they're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we heard it from Chris Byram yesterday in the post-race interview, and how he's saying they almost have like quite a family mentality of they will always try and help people out where possible, like they'll give other teams help with like car setup if they need it, or in general just try to help make something for a driver that helps them improve. And I think that's really good to see. Obviously, I think then from what Chris was saying, they then go their own separate way after the fact, and obviously try and find some pace somewhere else, because at the end of the day you're here to win. But even still, like, just being able to help and provide knowledge to someone who might not have it is definitely something that's really, really good. If we just see Julie Redmond now puts herself into 3rd place, and again, really, really quick lap from Julie so far. And I think Julie's doing a really good job at sort of maintaining that gap, especially with her teammate. As we said, they were currently tied on points, and her pace is now definitely looking very similar. Although we know as a driver, she tends to be a bit more of the cautious sort, especially like when going for moves and defending. She's quite happy to just sort of sit behind someone and wait for them to make a mistake and not really force anything. So I wonder if she's being this high up the grid right now, is she going to change that slightly? Obviously, she has her teammate to worry about, you know, Frederick Larson and Cade McClenny and Matt Turner, Vitautas, Patrick Olsen, and those drivers who we know are pretty quick in their own right. But yeah, I mean, maybe she just makes a tear and starts attacking Jimenez and Barris from the get-go, which would be really cool to see.
We've seen Redmond there in the fight a couple of times, but she's obviously a bit more on the cautious side.
Jeez, what a lap from Jimenez, by the way. Sorry to cut you off, but a 24.885, so we're already dipping into the 24s here in this Formula 3 car. But yeah, sorry, as you were saying, Carl, let's go on.
Yeah, we need to go back to that, the qualifying, but I think we're gonna have, when I'm done talking, we're gonna have another pole sitter. So yeah, as I was saying, Redmond, yeah, she's a bit on the cautious side, but obviously one lap pace is completely different from the race and what you can do. We've seen multiple drivers, you know, get a very good result and unexpected result at the end of the race, because, you know, a safety car can come out, or a big crash that took a few of your direct competitors out, and then you see yourself maybe in the podium or even winning the race. So yeah, Julie Redmond just seems to be the kind of driver that just sits there, doesn't do much, and just waits for the race to come to her.
Yeah, almost like you could describe it as, for those of you who do watch the F1 and have been following it for a while, almost like a Jensen Button approach. You know, very much, I'm going to send the move when I feel like it's on, you know? I'm not going to risk anything. I'm just going to take the position that I'm in, and if I get more than that, then that's great, you know?
Yeah.
And
she doesn't even try any mind games, like trying to, you know, doing some decoy moves or whatever. She just literally does her own race, you know, brakes on the same place, does the same line, you know, tries to do as a perfect lap as she can. And I mean, it's been working out for her. She's up there in the championship, and being up there over 10 rounds is a pretty good job, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. But going into qualifying right now, obviously a couple more people improving their lap times, and the order having been shaken up a little bit, at least in the midfield. But this sort of front five at the moment, Jimenez, Barris, Redmond, Walker, Larson, this is sort of your top five that I think you're looking at now and you're going, right, these are the ones arguably who are competing for the championship, right? They're also, ironically, top five of the championship themselves. So, you know, you look at them and go, okay, so they're fighting for the lead of the championship. They're also currently the fastest five in qualifying. Like, that
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. But then you look at a couple of other people, like, for example, McClenny, Turner, Olsen, who potentially aren't near that sort of upper tier in terms of points, but they've proven time and time again that they do actually have quite good pace when they can really start to get the hammer down and go for it. And I think this race is going to be one, I think, on... Arguably, I think strategy is going to be what sort of makes or breaks this race. Obviously, these cars don't have things like DRS to worry about. It's pretty much a sprint for the most part. Yep. You know, yes, you have to make a pit stop at some point, but... You know, we've seen time and time again that these drivers are all pretty much on similar sort of wavelengths in terms of strategy ideas. So I think if anyone mixes it up today, those are going to be the ones that we're looking at to potentially start putting in those really, really good laps and really start to push the envelope, as it were, to end up with a win out of an unexpected position. You know, potentially if your strategy's good, you can end up winning from 9th, 10th, 11th even.
Yeah, or the back of the grid even.
Yeah, if your strategy is that good, then who knows? I mean, we've seen it before, right? Remember, was it last round or the round before? No, I think it was the round before. We had so many incidents with, like, safety cars and things that we ended up having people who were normally, like, way down at the back of the grid being way up front and doing an incredible job at keeping all those really fast drivers behind them. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But getting into crunch time now within qualifying, obviously now you only got 9 minutes left, so you're starting to get into the later parts of it. And I think this is where now, if you're a driver, you sort of know that you know, you sort of know where the car is, you know where you can find time. It may not be by much, but you sort of know where you have a tenth or two in it. And I can imagine that, for example, Redman, Walker, and Larson, they're looking at that gap to Jimenez and they're going, how do I find 7 tenths, 6 tenths?
I think they're looking at the gap to Barry's even. That's 4 tenths. It's nothing to go overlooked. It's still a pretty big gap to get there. I don't know if they did some you know, slipstream work or something, which could have happened. But in the middle sector, I think you lose too much, so it needed to be lose too much by being behind another driver, and even in the final sector, so it needed to be well coordinated with your teammate to get a good tow and make it worth around the lap. Not sure what they did there, as we see Larson here going a bit too wide there, but I don't think that was an off track. But I don't think he's gonna improve either, no. So yeah, they need to play around with you know, slipstreams, or you know, I'm not entirely sure what they could do if that's their maximum pace on that car. Maybe we'll see drivers trying some crazy stuff here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, as you mentioned before, the slipstream obviously is going to matter a lot around here, and I'm not sure how much it did in the F2 car, but for these F3 cars, obviously they don't have, you know, all of that high downforce that, you know, you get in an F2 car, or even an F1 car for that matter. And as such, I think we see a lot of compromises in terms of aero setup. I think a lot of people will opt for the sort of lower downforce package around here in these F3 cars and just have the mechanical grip for Sector 2, which, in fairness, is probably not a bad shout. You know, the mechanical grip of these cars is still very good as single-seaters. So having that really, really good mechanical grip through the second sector to sort of carry that part of it, and then the really low downforce through sector 1 will help obviously in that big long straight after turn 1. And as you mentioned before, the slipstream is obviously going to do probably a lot for these cars, as they're quite light as well. Yeah,
I mean, obviously having lower downforce on the first sector is going to help you massively because of the lower drag, but sectors 2 and 3 are still very quick corners, and that's what made me go the way of a high downforce on the F2, because there's no way I could keep up by having low downforce in the middle sector. It's still very quick corners, and you can make very, very big use of that downforce in the middle sector. So not sure what these drivers are doing, and maybe that's actually the difference between P1, P2 and the rest. Obviously they're teammates, so they're sharing information, and yeah, I mean, Larson improved there if I'm not mistaken, so he got 2 positions from the on the Kuda guys, so that's good for him, but still 3 tenths to Barry's. That's not 3 tenths anymore, as Barry's almost gets pulled by 100 to his teammates. So I mean, yeah, they're definitely sharing some information that the others aren't getting. Let's see what they can do now, but more than half a second again to catch back up to P2. I don't think there's gonna be any other result other than a front row lockout for DriveXC Sports here.
Yeah, and it's sort of following on that thing that's just been continuous so far, as we see Danny O'Keefe starting to find a little bit of pace there in that Orion racing car. Obviously his teammate Frederick Larson currently quite high up on the scores, so you know, we'll see whether or not Danny can follow in that footsteps and maybe push himself into the top 10. Obviously he has a little bit of slipstream here from the car in front. I believe that is a GTR Evolution car, potentially of Matt Turner, although I'm not quite sure. We'll have to wait and see. Ah, yeah, Matt Turner, sorry, a CUDA driver. So yeah, Cabe McClenny, as I say, also looking to try and improve their lap times and start battling with the likes of Redman and Walker, and then also maybe Frederick Larson as well.
Oh, look at Barry's purple sector.
We'll see whether or not, and that's very wide out of the second to last corner. Let's see how wide he goes onto the final. Obviously, I think that may have been an off track slightly, going way too wide there, but we'll have to wait and see. Does this lap count? And it does, so wow, that is very impressive. I thought he honestly went way too wide out of the second to last corner, but apparently not. Apparently these cars are just, you know, just slightly thin enough on those tires to not have that be an off track and a
You can indeed go
124.7.
very wide. You can indeed go very wide on the last two corners, but that seemed a bit too much. Maybe, you know, he got the ruler out to see how much, how much to explore every little centimeter he could. And I mean, he made it work. He's now a tenth and a half up on his teammate. So let's see what the response can be from his teammates here.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll see whether or not Stuart Gibbons does improve his lap time. I don't think it will be, though. I believe that was an outlap and potentially just some quicker sectors in there. So Stuart not improving yet, but Danny O'Keefe looks like he might. So we'll see coming through the final corner whether or not Danny can improve, and it doesn't look like he does, but Cade McClenny manages to.
Barry's has another purple sector. What is he doing?
We might need to go on an onboard on this, man. Just for like an entire lap and see if he's doing something that no one else is doing, because this is a bit ridiculous now. He's set a purple middle sector for the second time in a row, and if he can set a new fastest lap, let's see. That was a 26.4, so I think maybe losing a lot of time either in Sector 1 and then just gunning it in Sector 2, but yeah. Let's get a full onboard with him actually and see whether or not he continues this lap. We'll take it from the roll bar actually, so just behind the driver's head here. As we do make our way into turn 2 and then into turn 3. Also, Darius does improve, putting himself P10, so I will say the driving style of Victor Barris is always just so aggressive. And he just really throws the car in and lets the car just sort itself out in the middle of the apex, and then he just gets on the power and goes. So the car seems very sort of unstable going in, but he then sort of makes it up for it with just really good car control.
Yeah, I think it's just setting up the car for the exit and just, you know, getting on the power very early. And then if you set up the car for that, you can make it work, and that's probably what he's doing. Do you think it changed something with the downforce from his previous times, and that's how he's getting purple sectors in the middle sector?
I mean, maybe, but if he has, then he's just improved through Sector 1, so I'd imagine maybe he's just added a little bit more downforce, and for whatever reason, this higher downforce is just working. He was able to get a really good turn 1, maybe that's where the difference is coming from, but Antonio Jimenez, purple through Sector 2, but Victor Barris, final sector, does improve to a 124.5, and wow.
Jimenez is coming as well, but
yeah, we'll jump on board with Antonio Jimenez, see whether or not Jimenez can improve. I don't think they did. I believe that was a 24.91, so very close to an improvement, but not quite quick enough. So that will push, as I say, Victor Barris into a very comfortable lead over his teammate, and then a massive gap to everyone else. With only 30 seconds left of this session now, this is, I believe this is it, right? Like, Jimenez now isn't going to get another shot.
Yeah.
Barris,
I think he just realized that. He just realized that he was gonna tow, and then he just realized that he continued going. But I don't think he can make it to the line in time anymore.
Barris isn't going to get a line either, so this will be Barris's fastest lap, unless this lap is any quicker. And just as I say that, purple through Sector 2 once again. Julie Redman is on an outlap, so Julie is definitely not getting to the line in time. Walker might... no, Walker will just be finishing whatever lap Walker's on currently. So Brandon Walker, currently the only driver who realistically can make that challenge work, but he's going to have to find one heck of a lap in him to make it. And is this going to be an improvement from Victor Barris? And we will see. I don't think it was.
Nope.
24.57, so unfortunately not a massive improvement. So now we only have a couple drivers still left on laps. Daniel currently on a lap. We'll see whether or not Daniel can improve at all. Leon as well, battling into the final corner. I'm not sure who with. Well, that was essentially John there.
That's not how you're gonna get
Leon was
time, boys.
battling with. No. Into the final corner, both of them side by side, basically racing each other. And unfortunately, that means that Leon does not set a valid time. Daniel does improve on his lap time to put himself P12, though, so setting his fastest lap right at the end of the session, which is kind of where you want to do it.
Yeah, if you want to subvert expectations from your team, from your rivals, you want to leave it for the last couple minutes, but it's always the risk to do that. Obviously not for Barry's. I mean, 1 second over his closest competitor, not counting his teammate. I think they're pretty safe. If there was a distance between the grid spots based on your lap time, I think Barry's would be starting after turn 1 already. So with that bigger gap, I mean, 1 second, that's just crazy. Looking further down the field, I mean, good job on the Kuda guys. They're P4 and P5, separated by Larson from the top guys. And then you have some new guys. Gabe McClenny, third race here, I think. So yeah, doing good on these last couple of races of the season. And then Danny O'Keefe actually improved, like you said, to make it into the top 10 as they go now for a warm-up to shake things off between a quali setup and a race setup, hopefully, or maybe just have a stretch before. There is still a long race, to be honest. It's still a 1 hour race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll see how this race goes, and just as I say that, I will try and look to see just how many laps this race will be. You'd think by now, this part late in the season, I would know all this, but
it's
hey,
36 laps.
So yeah, 36 laps. So yeah, you're looking at about an hour, I'd imagine, ish race. Maybe slightly under even. So we'll have to wait and see just what these guys can do. Obviously, if they have any safety cars, then that may extend things a little bit more. So yeah, and I mean, in terms of qualifying results, it was, as I say, pretty close among most of the field. We'll pop up the qualifying results for you now, just to show you just how close it was, at least as far as like P3 back. Because, I mean, as we mentioned before, the DriveX Esports guys just had an insane lap. 124.5, and then Antonio Jimenez just had no response to his teammate, and then Larson didn't even have a response to Jimenez. So Victor Barris is proving why he is one of the best drivers in the league, I think, at least in this F3 car. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the DriveX guys want to try and push and get further up, because I reckon they could do really well in that, just in that team in general. I think they could really put some shots in there up to the bigger guys, and we'll have to wait and see how that goes later on. But yeah, as I say, Victor Barris and Antonio Jimenez P1, P2. Frederick Larson rounds out the top 3 for Orion Racing, so that will be a good result for Frederick. And as he said before, he wants to get a win, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can take it from Barris and Jimenez. It's definitely a bold claim to say that you can get the win above him.
I think he wants to get a podium, right? I think he doesn't have a podium even yet in F3. Or does he?
I mean, a podium would be great for him, but definitely, as we say, just trying more, I think, to worry about his own position right now and make sure that he can really start pushing it and maybe get himself a win is also, you know, the goal. I think starting from P3, if you can get out to a lead, and especially in turn 1, you know, if the two DriveX guys go side by side into turn 1, then who knows what happens, you know. And then behind Frederick Larson, obviously, Julie Redman and Brandon Walker, both the Kuda team, again, very close on pace. I said how close they are, and as we can see from the times, you know, 0.02 basically separating them. So it's an incredibly close lap times between a lot of these drivers. The GTR Evolution driver of Gabe McClenny doing a really good job as well to put themselves P6. And Matt Turner there in 7th place as well. So Matt doing a great job. And then we have a new team on the block, Lime Banana Racing, right now. And that is going to be a subsidiary of Banana Racing. But I think from what I heard from Flodman, it's going to be a sort of Lime Banana is going to be the premier, and then Banana Racing is going to be the sort of secondary team, as it were, because Patrick Olson, I mean, has done an incredible job in that car to get it where it is right now. And then Danny O'Keefe there in P9. Darius Rakauskas does bring out your top 10 for Locals Autosport. And again, it was a very close qualifying up and down the grid, and Yeah, and we'll see if we can jump along as well, jump a couple of positions here, and get some of these other drivers in, just to see where we're at. I believe it's only showing me down to 21 drivers, unfortunately. As per usual, we do have a little bit of technical difficulties, but hey, we can see the rest of the grid at least, so Vitalis doing a great job. And then Daniel as well for the Arrigo Motorsports team, putting himself in P12, Emmanuel P13, Colday in 14th, Dominic Herbert now in P15, John Rowland in P16, Stuart Gibbons P17, Jackson Carr in P18 with Arturo in P19, John Journey in P20, and then Frankie rounds out P21. And as I say, it's looking quite close. There's battles up and down the field, and especially when you're considering, you know, from P16 up to P3 is within a second. That's going to be one heck of a battle to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Just to finish up on there on the grid, the rest of the drivers are Nicholas Marshall, Trevor Lindrum, and Leon Hedforth, who is a new driver actually, and I think is like 14 years old or something. Starting from the back of the grid, real life karting driver from Sweden. Let's see what he can do here.
Yeah, absolutely. That is going to be one thing to watch and see whether or not that real life experience can translate to the sim world. Obviously, we've seen it go in the other direction a few times. You know, we've seen it from the likes of Jimmy Broadbent, obviously, probably one of the more known ones at the moment, or there's a couple of other drivers who have made it into like some of the higher upper echelons of motorsport that I'm forgetting the names of right now, but it's not.
You have Cem Boluk-Baski as well, who's driving F3, I believe.
But that's not what we're here for. We're here for this F3 championship, IFL round number 11 here from the Austrian Grand Prix. We're just waiting for everyone to grid up. Brandon Walker does finally get himself settled, who I've just got confirmation it's actually now a privateer, so Matt Turner has taken the CUDA Works team. But here we go for round number 11 here from the Austrian Grand Prix. All the lights are on, we're out, and it's a good start from everyone in the field, it seems like. So we'll get an eye on just who makes it into turn one cleanly, and Antonio Jimenez is going to be challenged right off the bat actually by Frederick Larson. I said it before that potentially that's what you're looking at, and Frederick Larson is now trying to make as many moves as he can, and it looks like there's chaos out there into turn one further down the field, but Frederick Larson is trying to battle with Antonio Jimenez. Brandon Walker is trying to make some moves. Cade McClenny also trying to make a few more moves up there on Julie Redmond, but Julie doing a great job defending on the inside line. Has to be careful though. Yeah, so Larson did actually get past Antonio Jimenez a bit further up the field, and a bit further down there is a couple of other switches of positions. Arturo Mayorga does manage to get through quite a few of those actually, putting himself up into P15. So, and just as I say that, Julie Redmond, there seems to be a big off there. I believe that's from Cade McClenny. So Cade McClenny's now going to drop a few positions. So Matt Turner and Julie Redmond, these are teammates and they're battling side by side, and I believe that is Julie Redmond and Matt Turner colliding. Matt Turner is out there on the dirt, and that is unfortunate for him, and he's going to have to be very, very careful because he's going to be swarmed by everyone now. Daniel currently is now swarming right on him, and if Matt isn't careful here, he's going to end up way further down than he otherwise would be. So battling with your teammate, your first race in the CUDA Works team, and already you're colliding with your teammate. It's not a great look.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is not what the CUDA guys want, especially after, you know, having such a good performance over the last couple of races. Definitely not what they want.
And Frederick Larson is off there as well, I believe, into turn one. He may have just had a little bit of an incident, and he's now dropping all the way down the field. He's currently in P14 right now and still dropping. So Frederick Larson having a very unfortunate incident, but Cade McClenny's looking for a move here on Dominic Herbert. We're going to see him go up the inside here of turn number 3. Is he going to be able to get the power down nice and cleanly? GTR versus PRO, and we're going to see whether or not they've got the power. Does the Pro car have more power there than Cade McClenny? And it looks like it does. Obviously these cars are spec cars, so naturally you're going to primarily see that sort of straight line speed be dealt with by just aero itself, and it looks as though Dominic may be running slightly less, but as I say, great defensive move there from Dominic to keep that place. Danny O'Keefe now battling with Darius Rakauskas, the number 23 there, battling with the number 22. And Darius is looking for any sort of moves they can. Obviously, both of them gaining 4 positions right now, but Dominic Herbert gaining a full 8 off the start. So Dominic's had an incredible start, and already on lap 2 of this race, this has been absolutely incredible. There has been action absolutely everywhere on track right now between everybody on board. And this is just, it's hard to keep up with.
As usual, we got Dominic Herbert making up a bunch of positions here. Oh, as you see, Darius going on Danny O'Keefe here. Then he pulls to the outside and yeah, it's just gone.
Darius made that move look easy there, and then just off of that, we're going to see Dominic Herbert try to make the move on Danny O'Keefe, and does get high, and maybe even tries to make a move on Darius as well. Into turn number 3 we go, and Darius makes that move. Oh, sorry, Dominic makes that move very easily. So Dominic Herbert now is on 10 positions. So Dominic's your hard charger so far, and is looking to try and make any move he can. Dominic is the man on a mission right now. And we're going to see whether or not he can actually start to catch up to the back of Julie Redmond and then Brandon Walker. So if that's possible, then we may see a 3-car fight for Prix 3. But at the moment, it looks as though Brandon Walker is just having to defend a little bit from Julie Redmond. And then Antonio Jimenez, a little bit further up the road, is starting to pull away. And obviously Victor Barris is doing the same thing, just trying to pull away from everyone else. But let's get back onto this midfield battle here between Dominic Herbert, Darius Rakauskas, Kate McClenny, Danny O'Keefe, and Emmanuel Chaberno, along with Cole Day, Matt Turner, Patrick Olsen. All of them are just so close on track right now. All of them separated by about a second. It is absolutely mental how all these drivers are so close. Dominic obviously now has to try and push the pace, and naturally Darius is trying to push the pace back, and we're going to see whether or not Darius tries for the move here into turn number 1. Doesn't look like he does. Looks like he's just going to sit behind, get the slipstream into turn number 2, and then make the move into turn number 3. So let's see what he does here. Darius looks to the inside line, but a little bit too far back for now, so it's just going to have to sit behind, get the slipstream, and we'll have to see whether or not he can make any moves come later on. But as I say, everyone's starting to now flood back in, and Matt Turner is doing a great job defending as well as attacking like a lot of other drivers. But Frederick Larson is finally starting to make his way back up the grid, making the move on Arturo Mayorga. But if he's not careful, Arturo's going to be back around him here into turn number 4. Let's see who has the best brakes on that Formula 3 car, and it looks as though Frederick Larson did a great job and just pierced Arturo a little bit to the outside there, but manages to make the move nice and clean. So that is now Frederick Larson through, and I believe Arturo is now just going to have to sit behind, as Frederick is starting to set purple sectors as well. So Frederick really is starting to push that Formula 3 car and start to reclaim a couple of those positions that he lost, obviously having the spin in turn number 1.
Yeah, Frederick does have the pace. I mean, he qualified P3, but I think the hard charger still is with Dominic Herbert here. I mean, I don't know how he does that. Every single race he qualifies like P15, 2 laps later is P5. He does that every single race. I don't know what he's doing there.
And just as you say, that mistake from Emmanuel, and that's going to allow Cole Day to start going on the offensive here. And is Cole going to be able to make the move before turn 3? And if Cole can, then we're going to see Emmanuel have to then start defending from Matt Turner, but Matt Turner also has to defend from Patrick Olsen going up the inside here in that Lime Banana Racing team, who then also allows Frederick Larson to get through. So Frederick Larson made that move earlier on, and now he is battling very close there between himself and Matt Turner. Matt Turner needs to be very careful that the contact doesn't happen, and Frederick's going to go for the move. We're looking 3 wide here into turn number 4, and Frederick gets the most of it. Double pass for himself up into now P11 from P13, and just a bit further up the road there was a couple of other drivers who seemingly locked up going into the corner. So now Frederick is very close to Emmanuel, and I imagine Frederick is going to continue on pushing like he is right now and start making that recovery drive. And this is something that we're going to see a lot of, I think. A lot of these drivers who had these unfortunate incidents are now going to start really pushing and seeing if they can make any sort of moves work.
Oh yeah, Freddy really needs to make the moves work, because I mean he's been eyeing a podium since the start of the season, and I think he ever got one. And with a start like that, I'm sure is inside that helmet just you know, trying to go for every gap he can see. And we just saw it. I mean, he's making the most out of it. As a driver in front of him makes a mistake, and he's probably gonna get him by the end of this straight here. It's a long straight. Let's see.
Just to say that, I believe Arturo had a little bit of a mistake there and dropped a couple positions as well. But just as I say that, Frederick Larsen has a big dive up the inside of him. Emmanuel doing a great job there to get the move done. Makes it nice and clean. So thankfully for Frederick, his race is not over, but Frederick is still going to try and look very aggressive to the inside. And Frederick Larsen is going to go up the inside of Emmanuel Jabano. Are they going to touch? And they do. That reminds me very much of a similar incident that happened in the Red Bull Ring in F1. If you know, you know. Emmanuel Jabano unfortunately does get worse off from that, does cut across of Matt Turner to keep 12th position, but Frederick Larsen is now in P10 in the points, so is now trying to hunt down Cole for P9 and followed very closely by Patrick Olsen as well. So Patrick doing an amazing job so far.
Yeah, it's very easy to make that mistake because it's a downhill, and I mean, you gotta do that corner a lot of times to figure out, and on different lines as well.
Darius Rakauskas had an unfortunate incident into the wall there. Look at him.
Oh, no.
He's stuck in the barriers. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe just a really late break there, or just lost traction or something. But that's Darius probably out of this race with an issue like that. So he's dropped now quite a few positions, which has promoted Frederick Larsen up into P9, and a lot of other drivers up a couple of positions as well. Obviously, Dominic Herbert still currently our biggest gainer on 10 positions gained, and this race is absolutely all over the place right now. Both locales auto, yeah, but both locales auto sports cars, by the way, currently both in the pit lane. So Vitautas crashed, and I believe Darius also had the same incident, maybe into the same corner, but sorry, I should pay attention to what's going on because Frederick Larsen's going on the move on Cold Day, and as he does so, that's going to promote him into P8. Frederick Larsen doing an incredible job, and now currently up into P8, having regained quite a few positions that he lost off the start.
He's found the move that works for him. It's into turn 4 there on the inside. You're gonna see him do it again. If he's behind some other driver going into there, he's always gonna do that now.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a move that a lot of people maybe don't expect as well. So, you know, Frederick Larsen doing an amazing job, and Patrick Olsen also doing an incredible job getting points for the Line Banana Racing team so far. So, you know, the Line Banana Racing, first sort of race for them officially as a team. Obviously, maybe not the first race for Patrick Olsen here in this league, but as we're saying, you know, for the Line Banana Racing team, then Patrick Olsen's got to be pretty proud of that one. And battling with Cold Day, seeing whether or not he can get past at all. And if he can, then who knows? We may see a battle between Patrick Olsen and Frederick Larsen here for 8th position. Obviously, this will be your battle for 8th between these three drivers, Frederick Larsen, Cold Day, and Patrick Olsen, with Emmanuel Jabano also trying to get into the mix. And then further behind, Matt Turner also trying to look for that gap to start to develop. And just as I say that, Patrick Olsen does go up for the move on the inside. Cold Day not able to defend it, and once again, very similar move that Frederick Larsen did. So
yeah,
it seems as though it seems as though Patrick Olsen is very much watching what Frederick is doing and just sort of following as closely as he can, making the move exactly in the same way, and then he's just going to use Frederick, I think, to tow him along to the likes of Danny O'Keefe, Cade McClenny, and Dominic Herbert further up the road as well.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, into that corner, you need to, you know, make that move, even if you're alone, just simulate that there's another car there. So you try out different lines into that corner, because especially in these cars where you can play around with the brake bias, sometimes you need to make use of that to make the pass work, and that's why we saw Freddy maybe running a bit wide and collecting Emmanuel there, or contacting with Emmanuel there, just racing incident obviously, but yeah, sometimes you really push the driver wide, as we see Patrick Olsen here trying to make a move on Freddy, and don't think he's gonna go for it. It's a tricky corner, this one. Even trickier than turn 4, you can lock up very easy. Let's see if he's actually gonna use the move against Freddy, who's been doing it a couple times.
Yeah, Frederick Larsen.
Close enough.
Frederick Larsen obviously seems to be sort of one of the biggest advocates for the move into turn 4 right now, so it'll be interesting to see what he does defense-wise against his own move, you know? It's one of those things that I think if you do that move so often, you know exactly how it feels to be on that inside line, and you probably know how it feels to be on the outside line as well. So yeah. I think Frederick Larsen is very much aware that Patrick Olsen is behind him and really, really keeping on just with that Line Banana Racing team. I mean, Patrick's doing an incredible job right now. And, you know, battling with Frederick Larsen, I think Frederick is going to be kicking himself that he had that mistake. But he also needs to really start to push, because if he doesn't, then he may not actually get much further than this. So we'll see whether or not his lap times improve. And indeed they do, a 26.3 coming in for himself, so a new personal best. But it's not quite close enough to where he probably needs to be in order to really start to push for that upper echelons of the positions. You know, P3, P4 doing, at the moment, low 26s from both of them. So it's looking like sort of low 26s, and if you're in the DriveX Alien team, you know, you're looking at 25s, but those guys have just sort of run away on their own race right now.
That's another race, a different race. Yeah, but coming to Olsen and Larsen here, I mean, Larsen seems to be marginally quicker than Patrick, and I don't think Patrick's gonna catch up if he keeps doing these lap times. He's about a 10th slower every lap, and obviously catching is one thing and then passing is another, even though it's not that hard to pass on this track. But still, Olsen is not even catching, so first he needs to get on with that.
Yeah, and you know, one other battle that does seem to be developing while all of this is going on is the battle between Dominic Herbert and, actually, I believe that is Cade McClenny. So Cade McClenny's actually really put the hammer down now and is starting to push that GTR Evolution car into a spot where it could potentially take 5th position from the PRO team. I believe the Pro team is what they actually like to call themselves, but hey, GTR, PRO, makes a nice bit of alliteration, so we'll roll with it. But Cade McClenny, as I say, really starting to put the pressure on Dominic Herbert right now, and is actually faster and lapping with the same sort of pace that the leaders are. And just as we say that, Cade getting very sideways there into turn 3. I believe the brake bias a little bit too far to the rear, and then also losing it a bit on exit as well. And if he isn't careful, Darius Rakauskas is going to try and make the move up the inside, although I believe Darius, knowing he's blue flagged, is probably just going to back out of it, because he knows that Cade is probably a little bit quicker. But yeah, that was a very uncharacteristic mistake there from Cade McClenny. Just to see him take so much there of, I believe it was just the outside curbing, just caught him off guard, and obviously there's not as much grip out there, so the tires just didn't break in the same way, and that's what caused the slide there into the corner. And then obviously you start sliding into the corner, you want to counter steer, that's going to force you out even wider than you normally would be, and as such you get onto the curbing on the outside, and as we mentioned before, curbing on the entry to the corner doesn't have a lot of grip. Curbing on the exit of the corner, same thing, doesn't have a lot of grip. So you're then in a situation where you've just sort of lost time in both places.
Yeah, I mean, and with those mistakes, it's just gonna get him into turn 3 now at the end of the straight. But with these mistakes, you know, the tires are gonna start catching fire basically, and you're gonna be making even more mistakes as you see them going side by side. And I think this is gonna be an easy move for Cade here. He's already in front, and you know, Herbert just decides to stay behind, not fight it too much. And as long as Cade keeps pacing with the same pace that he's doing, as you see this fight going on, it's still going on for another couple laps. What will we see here into turn 4?
Patrick Olsen, I believe, was making a quite aggressive move, and as we said before, I was mentioning how some drivers opting for this lower downforce package. No, they didn't touch. It was very close, but unfortunately they didn't. Fortunately they didn't touch. Patrick Olsen doing an incredible job on that higher downforce setup to really challenge Larsen through the corners. And you can see from just the rear wing alone, right, how Frederick Larsen's rear wing is a lot flatter, and as such he was really able to challenge Olsen into the straights. But then in the twisty section, so this middle sector and then this final sector, you see how much more speed Olsen can carry through. And it's one of
Yeah,
those
but
things.
it's not a place where you can overtake. It's like Spa
Yeah.
all over again. You cannot overtake in the middle, in the second and third sectors. So, and then Larson just gets away in the first high-speed sector, which is why he's gone with this setup. Obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. But one guy I wish that we can actually check the car of after this race is Victor Barris right now. He's just set a 24.96. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's almost quali pace, right? I believe he's
24.
Yeah, he's done a 24.96. I want to say he was quicker in quali, but
Yeah, it was.
I
It
mean,
was a 24.5 pole position, but I mean,
that is
it
one
is good
heck of
enough.
a pace.
it's almost good enough for P2 in qualifying as well with this race time. I mean, that's just crazy.
Like, we may actually need to check him and see whether or not he's, like, you know, doing anything different setup-wise, because this is absolutely insane drive from him to be able to be so competitive. But Emmanuel has managed to make the move on Cole Day, but I think Cole is now actually starting to battle back, so we're going to see whether or not Emmanuel has the sort of racing IQ to be able to defend as much as they can in that VPG Sim car. Obviously,
Yeah.
VPG Sim, one of our sponsors as well, providing discounts for the championship winners on any of their products, I believe. And I believe Dominic Herbert has just come into the pit lane, so pitting very early. On lap 14 here of 36, you would imagine people would go a lot later than that, but I need to shut up a second as Cole Day tries to make the move into turn 1, does back out just before the apex, but that's now going to allow Matt Turner to try and maybe make a move here onto Cole Day for 10th position. It is going to start getting Matt Turner some points for the CUDA Evo team, who is obviously Julie Redmond's teammate now, so that is going to mean, sorry, CUDA Works team, so that does mean now that Matt is up in a position where he's gaining points on his debut for the team, so amazing result for him.
Yeah, definitely. That's especially in a team like CUDA, who's up there. You know, if you're still getting used to the car, just be there to get some points, any points for the team, and I think they'll be happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely, especially considering the Lumos guys aren't here today as well, right? Like, that's sort of the battle we talk about, and Victor Barris again, he goes purple, because why not?
He's just getting warmed up.
Yeah, like, his pace is just absolutely ridiculous. Well, Matt Turner having a little bit of a mistake there. You see the car just drifting out wide, so that may allow Cole Day to maybe make a move here through Sector 3, but again, Sector 3 isn't really a place where you're going to try and make any sort of moves, I can't imagine. You know, and if you do, it's going to end pretty ugly, I think. But Cole
that's a
does go
slowdown
very
for him.
wide.
That's a slowdown for sure.
Well, we'll see whether or not he does obey it into turn 1. So Cole Day is now starting to back off a little, and that was Matt Turner heavy into the wall there, or just managed to avoid it maybe, but yeah, Matt Turner had a very big moment there in turn 1, and that has allowed Cole Day to get through, and maybe Frankie will be able to pick up a position off that as well. So Matt Turner again really struggling with that car, maybe a little bit on edge as the car setup just doesn't really suit him that well. But Brandon Walker now with Brandon Walker's old teammate here, Julie Redmond, is now battling quite close, and if this back marker does get out of the way of Julie, then this could be your battle here for 3rd position. Nice to see the back marker obeying those blue flags, just getting out of the way, making it nice and easy for him. I believe that was Arturo, so great job from him there in that blue frog car. But Julie Redmond obviously now knows that her old teammate is ahead and going, right, I want to get this P3, you know, I started 4th position, I want to go higher than this now, so let's see what you've got, Brandon Walker. I'm going to throw everything at you. I was quicker than you last lap. Admittedly, there was traffic involved, so maybe a little bit of why, and it wasn't by much as well, so, yeah, it was only maybe a 10th, if that, so, you know, but Julie, even still, getting some really good laps in here, and really able to show us just what she is capable of now that she doesn't have Brandon Walker as a teammate. She's able to just really be sort of almost the sole focus of the CUDA Works works team now. And as we said before, yes, they like to help out other drivers, but they're going to focus on themselves, probably more so. And I believe that's what we're going to see now. Brandon Walker able to just focus on himself and his own car, but then also Julie Redmond getting all of the benefits that Brandon Walker had before, and then probably more. And I believe Frederick Larson has just come into the pits and has come out as well. So Frederick Larson and Dominic Herbert currently the highest of our pitted positions. Dominic Herbert currently in 12th and Frederick in 13th. So hitting nice and early, maybe expecting a safety car later on in the race. But I personally don't think it's going to be quite close enough for any safety cars to trouble us today.
Yeah, probably no safety cars, especially, I mean, on this track there's a lot of runoff, and the only reason a safety car would come out is if there's a big, like a multi-car pileup. Not even 2 cars, just 3 cars or more, and if they cannot clear the track by themselves. So it doesn't tend to happen here a lot, especially obviously for the start. So if there's a crash, it's like we saw one of the banana guys into, or sorry, the locals, I think, into the barrier there on the last corner. Even then, he stayed plenty. He was plenty out of the track. So no safety cars here. But also, I've noticed the stewards have black flagged 2 drivers, and that was Vitautas and Leon Headforce. Not sure entirely why that was. We have no communication to them, but Vitautas has meanwhile disconnected, and Leon is still on track, so I'm not sure what that was about, but he's got a black flag.
Will be interesting to see if we can get...
Which seems to be clear right now, so...
Yeah, I was going to say, it would be interesting to see if we can get an update on that maybe, but Cold Day was quite close to Emmanuel going into turn number 4, but I think locked up a little bit there and has now managed to... Emmanuel has now managed to break away and start to really push Emmanuel's pace just a little bit further up. Obviously, currently gaining 5 positions, and then Frankie doing an incredible job here, by the way. Last of the people who haven't really pit... Oh no, sorry, Trevor is probably the last of the people who haven't pit yet, currently in P14. So Frankie doing an incredible job. I believe started near the back of the grid. I think it was P21 and is now P10. So yep. Yeah, an amazing drive so far. I mean, Dominic, as we mentioned before, always does an amazing job at pushing that sort of gap as much as they can. But one battle I do want to keep an eye on here, the old teammates Julie Rebb and Brandon Walker. Is Julie going to go for a move here into turn number 4? It doesn't look like she does just yet. A little bit of smoke puffing up there ahead of them, so maybe a back marker just locking up the brakes and a little bit of a smoke screen there allows Brandon Walker to just relax a little. Obviously has to be worried about Julie Redmond really starting to push the pace and starting to show Brandon, actually, hey, you know, we were always very similar on pace. We can actually start pushing this now, and you know, you're not my teammate anymore. I'm gonna gun for you as hard as I will anyone else. So
she's waiting for that mistake that we were talking about in qualifying, where she just sits there and waits for the driver in front to make a mistake on their own. Which, I mean, this is an entry-level series, so it can be expected. It's a valid strategy that you know, eventually the driver is gonna make a mistake, and there's still plenty of laps to the end, so I think it's a good strategy from Julie here.
And just as you say that, Brandon Walker makes the mistake into turn 1, and this is going to allow Julie Redmond up the inside of him, and this is going to be the 101 versus the 57. Julie Redmond on the inside line here, going into turn number 3. Last of the late breakers, Brandon Walker does so, and they almost touch. Brandon Walker, I believe, was a little bit further ahead than he otherwise would have been, and just completely cuts off the nose there of Julie Redmond, and I believe Julie might even get a little fired up after that and really start to try and push back. Going into turn number 4 here does show her nose a little bit, or maybe just a little bit of a wobble, but yeah, this is your closest battle on track so far, and one hell of a battle that it's going to be. One of the line banana cars there getting out of the way and allowing this battle to continue on. Julie Redmond now having to follow through sectors 2 and then into sectors 3 as well, but Julie Redmond doing an incredible job keeping so close, and as you mentioned before, she was waiting for the mistake. The mistake came. She tried to make the move into turn 3 post the mistake, but just wasn't able to brake quite late enough. I think Brandon Walker's very, very quick in that sort of first sector. So Julie's going to have to really start to push this pace just that little bit harder to make any sort of moves that she can on top of him. So, you know, still, as we mentioned before, 16 laps now to go in this race. So we'll see whether or not Julie can make that move.
Yeah, and obviously Julie didn't make that move there because, you know, she could have. But one, she's not a very risky driver, as we've just said. And second, I mean, that's still her teammate, kind of. So, and they're in a good position. So she just did well to not risk all of it and, you know, ruin the race for both of them. I'm sure they're still in good terms with each other, and she wouldn't want to, you know, ruin Brendan Walker's race there. She's still there. She's waiting for another one, and I'm sure she's gonna go for it when the time comes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brendan Walker's probably just sitting in his mirrors and knows, right, I know sort of everything that you can do as a driver. You know, we've been racing as teammates now for a while, so I sort of know most of your moves. So Julie's going to have to really get something interesting and something out of the bag here, and maybe change her tact a little, and instead of going for this sort of I'm going to wait for you to make a mistake strategy, maybe just try and force Brendan Walker into something a little bit more than he's used to. But just saying that, Julie Redmond is coming into the pit lane, so we'll have to see where she comes out and whether or not she comes out ahead of Dominic Herbert. I think that's the biggest battle to watch right now, is see where Dominic comes out in all of this. At the moment, there is a gap of 38 seconds to Dominic Herbert from Julie Redmond, so I believe she will come out way ahead of that battle. But will she come out ahead of Frankie, who is currently our lowest of the people who haven't pit yet? Although saying that, Patrick Olsen is in to the pit lane, Cole Day also in to the pit lane. 9-second stop there from Julie, so a little bit longer than what we might expect from some people, so maybe we missed
the box.
Yeah,
she missed the box a little bit, had to back up to make it onto the jacks, and but I don't think she lost any position, right?
No. Obviously, she lost a few by pitting to Danny O'Keefe and Emmanuel, but definitely made it past outside of that. But one battle that is now going to get a little bit spicy is Frederick Larson on Patrick Olsen, but I believe Frederick is already passed and through, so we'll see whether or not Frederick opts for a... Well, as we said, he had a strategy yesterday in the F2 where he basically went as long as he could on the tyres. And he went really long on those tyres. Like, we're talking 6 laps from the end long. Like, that is one hell of a stint to go on those tyres. And he said that when he put the new tyres on, they just felt so bad in comparison. He just wasn't able to get the same grip levels. So
yeah, they take a long while to heat up. Especially yesterday, they were taking like maybe 4 laps before I felt comfortable in them. And I think everybody was feeling the same. So since he pitted so late, basically the last couple of laps of the race for him were just warming up the tires.
Big incident there. I'm not sure who that is. I believe that's Leon, actually, with a tire completely off his car. So that's not what you're wanting there. I'm not sure whether that's a visual bug, because the car looks to be driving fine. But
he's got no front wing either.
Yeah, that was a very big incident regardless. Right now, no close battles on track as it is at the moment. But it's all now going to come down to I believe, a strategy battle here. Obviously, we're looking at Brandon Walker to try and pit and still come out ahead of Julie. I think that's sort of what we're looking at now, that battle for third. I believe that if Victor Barris and Antonio Jimenez pit, they'll come out way ahead of Julie. I believe, actually, they'll probably come out ahead of Danny O'Keefe as well. So that is one heck of a cap to have, to pit and only lose 1 position.
Yeah, and I mean,
incredible.
Speaking of gaps and quick people.
Walker's in.
Okay.
Sorry, but you were saying.
Yeah, I don't know what's more interesting, but we were talking about qualifying and race pace. Victor Barris just set a time 2 thousandths slower than his qualifying pace. So he's doing qualifying laps here, basically.
So what you're telling me is Victor Barris has decided on lap 22 of this race that he's going to decide, you know what, I really like qualifying, and that's what this session is for me now. It's just an
so
extended qualifying session.
Yeah. 4 points. 4 points.
Yeah, that is insane. Although, one thing that is also very interesting to note is Brandon Walker seemed to get a really good pit stop in comparison to Julie Redmond. However, did not come out ahead of Emmanuel and has to battle Emmanuel here into turn number 3, and just about with a little bit of a biff there on the exit does just manage to get ahead. So Brandon Walker is now in P4, has to defend a little bit on the inside line here into turn number 4, and we'll see whether or not he can make that move stick, and I believe he will. So Emmanuel now stuck in a little bit of a sticky situation between Brandon and then Julie Redmond, but obviously Julie a little bit further back. And did Victor Barras just set a lap quicker than his his qualifying time? Did I just see that right?
I don't even know what to say, man. Even Jimenez is almost faster than Paul, so I mean, let's just let them race their own race and be clear 30 seconds of everyone else.
That is just ridiculous. It is absolutely insane. But Emmanuel does come into the pit lane here now. So behind Brandon Walker, we do have, I believe, that will be Nicholas Marshall, actually, for one of the other CUDA teams. So again, a driver who has probably talked with Brandon Walker quite a lot and has actually gotten a lot of support from him, is now starting to just keep on to the back. Obviously is down a lap on Brandon Walker. But one other thing I want to see is where Emmanuel comes out in all of this, because we may get a battle here between himself and maybe Matt Turner. No, maybe not actually. I think Matt's a little bit too far back.
Barras is into the pits.
I reckon Barras will come out ahead of Danny O'Keefe. I think that's a pretty reasonable assessment.
And then O'Keefe still has to stop. So I mean, no.
It's just
no
insane.
Danger there.
And Antonio Jimenez sets the fastest lap of the race right now. So, you know what I think's going on between the Drive X guys, by the way? I think they've decided, because the gap is big enough, they're effectively just going to treat this as like a time trial session and see who can get the fastest lap at the end. Just like, let's see.
The guy with the fastest lap gets the team orders in their favor.
Yeah, going into the last couple of rounds, we'll see whether or not that gets upheld. But Antonio Jimenez and Victor Barras currently running away with it. O'Keefe is into the pits, which will promote Brandon Walker there up into P3, which then should also promote Julie Redmond up into P4. We'll have to wait and see on that one, and indeed it does. And we'll have to see where Dominic Herbert comes out in all of this, because I believe Dominic Herbert may come out behind Danny O'Keefe, which means that there may be a battle here for 5th position, and Dominic Herbert to gain those 10 positions. Dominic Herbert just going into turn 1 now. We'll look ahead to see where that car is, and there it is, just a little bit further ahead. So the Orion Racing Team car of Danny O'Keefe ahead of his teammate Frederick Larson, which again is another one of those situations where we've seen the Orion Racing Team. Normally you see Frederick Larson followed by Danny O'Keefe, but this time it's switched around and Danny's doing an amazing job. And just as I say that, Dominic Herbert unfortunately has an incident there coming into turn 3, on the exit of turn 3 I should say, and is in the wall and is going to lose a lot of time. And I'd argue a few positions as well on that one. Loses a position to Patrick Olson, and then
He's
maybe
lucky if he doesn't have any damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a tire at least slightly bent, maybe a front wing slightly damaged as well. So we'll have to see what his pace looks like and whether or not he comes into the pit lane. Obviously, we do have a fast repair in this series that you can use, so but only one. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he does opt to just come into the pits and just repair that damage real quick and then go straight back out again, or whether he just sort of deals with it and just continues on. Obviously, if he had no damage, then he got off very, very lightly.
Yeah, I mean, with the race is a short race compared to the other series, but it's still a pretty long race, and at this point you're starting to lose concentration. I mean, I think I can speak for myself when it comes to that, according to what happened yesterday, where I just missed the braking point by 50 meters. But yeah, you start to lose concentration. You maybe, you accelerate a bit harder, which is what happened to Dominic here. and you know you're just spun around, and that's a couple positions. Sometimes your whole race just gone, and it's normal to happen.
Yeah, this is why you will need to start doing some endurance racing, you single-seaters, guys. You need to start joining us sports car people for some more endurance racing, and get yourself into the groove of this is going to be a pretty boring race because I'm not going to be doing anything for like 5 hours of it.
Yeah.
And really start to...
And when it comes time to do a 2-hour race, it feels like a sprint.
Exactly. You know, join us endurance guys. You know, there's a benefit to be gained there where you won't lose concentration so easy. But no, it's definitely, as you mentioned, quite hard to do, especially considering, you know, you look at, obviously, this is a sprint, right? So you're effectively going flat out the entire time, right? You're not like doing, as I mentioned before, like in the endurance stuff, you're normally going at like 90, maybe 95%, 98% at most. Like you're never really pushing 100, whereas I feel like in a sprint, it's every single lap is 100%. Like you may be pushing like... Obviously, you push really aggressive at the start to gain a couple positions. In the mid part of the race, maybe you back off a touch, but probably not as much as you would in endurance, I don't think. You know, in endurance is very much, I need to make it to the end, so I'm just going to do my hour-long stint here, and that'll be me done, and then I can get back in the car later. Hopefully the rest of the guys have also done the same thing, and then I can get back in, and if I'm the last driver in, that's when I start pushing, but if I'm not, then my job is to just get the car to the end. Whereas obviously here, you're battling the entire time, you know. Yes, the battles have started to die down a little bit now that all of the pit stops have been made and all of the strategies have sort of played out, but even still, you know, you still have to be aware that people are always pushing.
Yeah, but the thing with endurance racing is just, you know, you're calculating lap times over 24 hours, and you know, being half a second quicker here is probably possible, and it adds up over, well, not even half a second, maybe half a tenth is gonna add up over the 24 hours. And you can do that, and it makes a difference. So you don't need to be that much quicker, you don't need to be 3/10 quicker, just half a tenth is enough to get the theoretical position that you supposedly have calculated with your team. While here you've got 36 laps to you know, make up that position. So you know, you need to push much more, because you actually need to be half a second quicker or maybe 1 second quicker per lap to make it all, to close that gap, basically.
Yeah, and then also to make the move as well. Obviously, we talk a lot about, you know, you need to have, not only do you need to have the pace to be quicker than the driver ahead of you to actually catch them in the first place, but you also need to have the pace to make that move on them as well. Like, it's not easy to make a move on anyone. Like, if you're on the same pace as someone in front of you, and you try to make a move on them, you guys are probably going to be the same speed on the apex as well, right? So you can't really just sort of send it in there. You know, you sort of just have to wait for mistakes, and that's really the only ways to get past a lot of the times, especially when you look at like the higher echelons of like the esports leagues. You know, when you look at the proper pro guys, as we see a big crash there, I believe, from Leon there, and that
Leon
is
having a very good showing for a debut.
No, unfortunately not. That is a big crash, and unfortunately one that's probably going to retire him for the rest of this race now, I'd imagine. Obviously, only 7 laps left to go.
Yeah,
I believe
no
Emmanuel...
fast repairs probably. I think he's used it already.
Maybe a bit of a timing bug, but it looks like Emmanuel is experiencing some sort of issues here. May have actually lost connection to the race. I tried to jump on board with him, and he wasn't there, so Emmanuel, I think, is out of this race with connection issues.
Not ideal, for sure.
No, Emmanuel was doing pretty well as well. You know, was in P9. Obviously, Matt Turner now the one who takes that P9 from him. And, you know, it's one of those things that I think if you're Emmanuel, you're like, oh, I was doing so well, and now I've got this really, you know, I've got this connection issue, and now I'm like, you know, a lap behind, and I'm in a position where I don't want to be, especially if you can reconnect before that. Obviously, if you can't reconnect, it's a slightly different issue, where you sort of just have to bounce back, right? You can't just sort of sit on it. You have to really start to just make that your goal is to just bounce back in the next round, because this round's sort of done for you, especially, you know, as I mentioned, with 6 laps left to go of this Grand Prix. But a battle that is developing. Two Orion racing cars, Frederick Larson and Danny O'Keefe. Frederick Larson finally within a second. So we're finally seeing a battle emerge here on track within the last couple of laps. Maybe we may see more. Normally, that's what ends up happening here in the iFormula League Formula 3 series. We either see battles from start to finish all the way, or we see a lot of drivers battling at the very start, then not a lot through the middle, and then it all hell breaks loose at the end.
We're gonna have 10 races going on in just a couple laps. Just wait.
Yeah, I'm expecting it. You know, I'm looking at the gaps right now and seeing there's possibly a couple that may end up springing up. I believe Matt Turner onto Dominic Herbert, and then this battle here, Danny O'Keefe and Frederick Larson. And I wonder whether or not there's going to be any team orders here from the Orion Racing team. Obviously, Frederick Larson, we know, is a little bit quicker than Danny, but I wonder if Danny is going, you know what, Frederick, we've got 5 laps to go, mate. You know, after this lap, we've got 5 more. I want to race this. I don't want to make this easy for you. I want to have some fun, you know?
Yeah, they're you know, communicating over voice chat. So they should be talking this through and you know, not fighting and causing loss of points for the team, which is not ideal. And I think I'm curious to see how they're gonna sort this out. Obviously, Freddy is quicker the last couple of laps. Just the last lap he was 3/10 quicker. Let's see how this last lap goes, and let's see how they sort this.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to end up being with Danny O'Keefe letting Frederick through, maybe into turn 3, but it would be nice to see the two of them battle, maybe just see who is the quicker Orion Racing team member, but obviously you don't want to do it at the cost of points, right? I think if Frederick Larson does make the move, then Danny is just going to let him through, and I can't imagine he's going to really defend hard for that position, but who knows? Maybe Danny does defend really hard, and we see a move here maybe being made by Frederick Larson. Watch him on the exit here of turn 3, see if he can get a good run. It looks like Danny may have got the better run, actually, because that gap extended quite a bit, but with slipstream here, Danny's just going to let him through. Goes off to the side, lifts off, and just says, hey, Frederick, you're quicker than me right now, mate. I'll just let you through. We'll take a nice easy 5-6 here for Orion Racing. You can get a few more points to push yourself further up in the championship. And
no podium yet, though.
No podium yet, though. Indeed.
I'm sorry, Freddy. I'm just.
Unfortunately for Frederick Larson, you know, and the thing is I reckon he had the pace to do it today. I reckon he could have today. We obviously just had that unfortunate spin from him that ended up with him not really being able to get into a position where he wanted to be, and as such he's now in P5, 2 positions down off of where he otherwise would have liked to have finished. And you know, in terms of positions right now, I think P3 was probably the most achievable. I mean, the DriveX guys, as we mentioned before, they were just on a different planet, I think. I'm actually wondering whether or not they've managed to sneak in like the Formula Renault 3.5 or the Formula Renault 2 car, because I genuinely think they must be using a different car at this point, because that is like the pace difference between themselves and everyone else has been absolutely crazy this race.
They're already in the mindset for next season where they're gonna go up another series, so you know the brain in the hands and the feet are already quick enough. And I mean, apparently the car as well, so I don't know what's up with that. Obviously, you know, they're 4K rating drivers, that must mean something. And you know, it just shows on their lap times and their race performance.
Yeah, absolutely. But 3 more laps here. Well, I should say 4 more laps really, when we're counting this lap as lap 33, but 4 more tours of the island, as it were, in Austria for the Red Bull Ring, and I believe it will end very much the same way that it has been so far. I believe, saying that, Frederick Larson, he can't catch a break, can he? Frederick Larson, unfortunately, having yet another incident that's going to allow Danny O'Keefe to get back through, and it was a pretty unforced error, we've got to admit.
Yeah, I mean, luckily they've built a gap together to allow for this to happen, but I don't think Danny is now gonna you know, let off the gas just to get Frederick by again. I think he's gonna have to work for it, especially since Danny. Oh, okay, that was a back marker. I was thinking, I was Danny catching up to Redmond.
Truly that quick, yeah, but no,
Yeah.
no, that was Darius.
Yeah.
So Darius is now lapped by P5, but as I say, you know, Frederick Larson unfortunately having once again just not really able to catch a break, and as we say, it was going to allow Patrick Olsen to maybe catch up if they were a little bit closer, but thankfully for Frederick at least there was just a little bit further of a gap, and yeah, it's one of those things that Patrick Olsen, I think, has done an incredible job, especially in a new team. Dominic Herbert, obviously one we have to talk about, gaining 7 positions, but Frankie gaining 11 as well to finish in the points. I believe that might be Frankie's first points finish if it ends up like this. Obviously, we knock on wood and hope the commentator's curse doesn't come back to bite him, but yeah, I mean, Frankie doing an incredible job there to be picking up points in a field like this. It's definitely impressive to see. And finishing up near here for the iFormula League round number 11. Obviously, only a couple more races left to go. We are looking at just a few more, as we mentioned, a few more rounds. We've got Canada coming up, Zandvoort coming up, and then also the British Grand Prix here at Silverstone. And Victor Barris needs to be careful, and I was worried that Cole Day may have made that a little bit awkward, or at least a little bit more awkward, but that's not Cole Day actually, that is Trevor Landrum. So Trevor and I believe Cole racing in that same team, and Victor Barris now actually managing to get past pretty safely. Obviously a little bit of a scare there, was a little bit worried.
Yeah, and obviously he doesn't need to risk it at this point in the race. He's got a big gap to his teammate, which is his closest competitor, so he just needs to get on with it and, you know, make it to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, we've got 2 more laps to go here. Victor Barris will be taking the white flag next time by. Will be on the final lap next time by. And we're going to see his teammate a little bit further there in the background, having to get through maybe just a couple more back markers here, I believe, of Cade McClenny. And then also, as we mentioned before, Trevor Landrum in between the two of them. But I believe Trevor... No, Trevor is still going. Or... did Trevor come back to the pits? I believe there was a little bit of an incident there where Trevor has gone off, so unfortunately, I mean, well, I guess fortunately for Antonio, he doesn't have to get past a back marker and have some sort of scare near the end of the race, because there's nothing worse than that. But yeah, as I say, so far, I mean, this race has been pretty entertaining for the most part. Obviously, it's died down a little bit now near the end of the race, but as I say, it was all go from the get-go, and then later on in the race, it just sort of seemed to play in just the strategy element of it. And then after that, it's just sort of died down, and people have just sort of settled into the positions that they are. Victor Barris, Antonio Jimenez taking 1-2, Brendan Walker taking P3, Julie Redmond P4, and then Danny O'Keefe rounds out your top 5. Frederick Larson having some unfortunate issues to put him P6, and then Patrick Olsen in P7. Dominic Herbert doing an amazing job gaining 7 positions in P8, and Matt Turner for his opening round in the CUDA Works team. I mean, Matt did a pretty good job there, obviously currently in 2nd position. And still has to battle with Dominic a little bit. There may be a move on here coming to the end of the race, and we'll see whether or not Dominic is able to defend. Obviously, he is only a second up the road, so maybe we may see a last lap move. And just as I say that, there seems to be some... I'm not sure what that was there from, I believe that's Darius Rakauskas, but there seemed to be some sort of weaving going on there as Frederick Larson does manage to catch up to the back of his teammate. But this is what I'm interested in now. Final lap of the race here for everyone, I believe, all the way down the grid. And we will see whether or not Matt Turner is able to overtake Dominic Herbert for P8 here on the Austrian countryside roads. I say countryside, it's a little bit further out from Spielberg, I think. But Dominic Herbert does make a mistake.
There's the mistake.
And that's gonna, as I say, Dominic doing a very aggressive defensive drive there, but Matt Turner just very committed onto the inside line. Does try to maybe make a move here up the inside line. Last lap, Matt Turner does get the move made. That number 28 car is now ahead of the number 21 for P8. Is Dominic Herbert gonna be able to battle back? Dominic Herbert has to round out here through the final couple of corners. There's a car off to the side of the circuit. Not quite sure who that was. I believe that was Darius Rakauskas maybe. But it's not going to affect this battle just yet. Dominic Herbert, you've got 2 more corners to make a move, and you've got to do it right here, right now, into the penultimate corner. The number 21 does follow the number 28 through, and I believe they will finish like this. Dominic Herbert taking it so wide there on the exit, just trying to use as much road as he can to get the move done, but unfortunately nothing doing there, and that is going to mean that Matt Turner will take home P8 with Dominic Herbert taking home P9. Frederick Larson does get his teammate there, I believe, at the end, but we will take a look at the official race results after this, as I believe everyone has now finished. So I mean, what a race that was. We'll take a look, and yeah, indeed, Frederick Larson does get that position from Danny O'Keefe right there on the final lap. As I say, I think Frederick was close enough to where he was like, hey, man, you know, can you just back up a little bit and let me get at least just a little bit, few more points for the championship? That would be greatly appreciated. And Danny was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But I mean, Victor Barris...
It's team play still.
Yeah. I mean, Victor Barris and Antonio Jimenez, I mean, what can we say about that drive from them? 1-2 and making it look easy. And then Brandon Walker as well, obviously a privateer. I will update that for next week. Sorry, not next week, the week after. But again, takes home a relatively easy sort of race for himself there in P3. So we'll see if we can get in a couple of drivers for interviews. I believe Brandon Walker is waiting for us. And Carlos, I'm not sure if you wanna take this one.
Yeah, let's go. Brendan, so what's up? P3, you were fighting there with your previous teammate from a couple of weeks ago, Julie Redmond. How does being a teammate, or having been a teammate, prove to be of use to you today?
I mean, well, first, you know, she did well qualifying herself, but yeah, it's not having that teammate anymore. It's a little bit tricky to compare time and data with, but kind of just kept my head down. Same thing from last week. I thought maybe I would have been able to qualify a little higher than I did, but messed up a few laps. So I just wanted to get a good start, and I was able to. And I think it was Frederick fun, so wanted to keep up with Antonio and Victor, but just didn't have the pace. So just tried to keep it inbound. Had a lot of off tracks, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't spinning. But yeah, I mean, it was fun.
Yeah. So with this, you know, you've had some good results in the past couple of races, or at least your pace has been strong, and surely there's a potential for some more podiums and maybe, who knows, even a win if you know, the Drive X Sports guys are both sick at the same time or something. But what's your realistic objective for, you know, finishing position in the championship? So you're now, you know, P5 before this race, P5 with 71 points, and then you got Larson with 102 and Jake Potts with 118 or 16, sorry. And then, you know, you just got Drive X Sports with 137 and 178 or 170. So what do you expect to be your final position in the championship?
Yeah, I think I guess maybe, you know, maintaining P5, or, you know, a couple good more results. If mathematically P4 is available, then we'll shoot for that. But ultimately, just want to stay in the top 5, and you know, top 5 in every race as well. Would be within a couple tenths, or pretty close to Driver X guys, and just having fun, and, you know, not having to worry about setup too much, just drive. But definitely want to maintain top 5 finishes, because, you know, we've been able to do that throughout the season. I think I was really hard on myself after Suzuka, after finishing P2 and not really being able to match that, but just getting back to having fun, and I think that mindset has been helping out.
All right. So I'm happy that you feel that way, and nice result once again. So hopefully we'll see you again next or 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. See you guys. Have a good Memorial Day weekend as well.
All right. See
Yeah,
ya.
absolutely. But Brandon, just before we let you go, mate, is there anyone else that you sort of wanna thank and give credit to?
Yeah. Give thanks to United, Lewis Archer, those guys, and I'm sure there's more that I can't think of right now, but everyone knows that helps and has been
Yeah.
involved. The league, you guys. It's kind of weird watching the stream last week without any commentary, so good to have you guys back. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, as I say, we always want to try and put on a show for the crowd, and as I say, to have you up there on the podium as well, really great result from yourself. So it'll be awesome to see. Hopefully, you back again next week, maybe a little bit higher up though. So,
Indeed.
cheers,
All
mate.
right, see you guys.
See ya.
See you later. All right, cool. Next up, we're gonna hear from Victor Barris and see if he can get himself in here, and yeah, it will be our race winner. So.
Victor, another win. Pretty big gap to Antonio. Faster than qualifying. How do you guys do that? Tell me the trick.
Thank you. Well, I don't know the trick. For the fastest lap in the race, I think it's a matter of temperature, of course, because at least in my case, my qualifying lag was pretty on the limits. In the race, I was able to manage a little bit the pace. I had, a couple of tens there at the pocket. But yes, it was a super comfortable race, almost perfect for the team. 1-2. I even think that maybe it's in the team championship. We have mathematically win. I'm not sure, so I cannot ask for more. It's perfect.
Yeah, your teammate got the fastest lap there right after you set, I think, a 1:24.48. Antonio set a 1:24.46 or something like that. So yeah, you got the extra point as well. Not sure who got the safest driver point, but it's gotta be one of you, I think, because your race was pretty comfortable. As you said, you didn't have to fight much, so obviously no off tracks or contact or whatever. So I don't know what to say. You're just so much quicker, both of you. And I mean, I think, as you said, maybe we need to confirm that, Alyssa, if you can, if they have actually won the championship, the constructors. And I mean, the only driver who can still take the drivers from you is realistically is your teammate, really. How do you feel about that?
Oh, well, between Tony and me, there's always there's nothing between us. I mean, we have very similar pace. He's a super driver, has a very constant pace. In his qualifying, I think it's much better than mine. So I think it can go to the last race. I mean, if I have any problem, DNF or something like that, it will be quite close, and anything can happen. So pace-wise, we are very equal because of luck factors. Maybe I'm a little bit ahead, but just I need a little bit of bad luck. Be fighting till the last race. So.
Yeah,
Well,
obviously the gap is still pretty big. So I mean, but yeah, as you said, there's still a couple races to go, and anything can happen, really. So we'll be here to watch you guys fight it out for the championship.
but
Thank
one
you very much.
championship I can confirm the results of is the Formula 3 Teams Championship has been wrapped up and goes in the way of the DriveX esports team. And I mean, it was an amazing result. You guys have been pretty dominant all season, so you are officially Formula 3 team champions. And how does that feel for yourselves?
That's great. That was our first target, really. I mean, we were racing, thinking about the team effort, the team championship. Maybe now we can focus a little bit more on the drivers, but that was the first target. So mission accomplished. We are super satisfied, and well, we will enjoy it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely, mate.
We want to see a video of you guys spraying champagne on each other for the championship.
Yes.
Yes,
Torres, yes, yes.
you cannot
We did.
imagine how hot it is here in Spain these days. So I really want this champagne.
But yeah, guys, it's been an absolutely amazing pleasure, obviously, watching you guys drive, and just the pace you guys have shown has been absolutely incredible. But obviously, the other thing as well to mention is, you know, do you guys have anyone else you wanna give a shout out to, and people who made that team championship win feel like it has done?
Well, I mean, first one to thanks it's my teammate, because it's a team effort. So it's I think it's half of it it's for him, half for me. Also, the guys that are not racing in the championship but are there supporting us, and of course, and the organizers of the league, and also the broadcasters. You are doing an amazing job. I think it really adds up to the whole championship. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we can't do this without you guys, and obviously vice versa. You know, you guys want to put on a good show, and that's exactly what you guys do week in and week out. But Victor, we'll let you head off and get in a couple words with your teammate as well. But yeah, I mean, absolutely amazing job, and once again, get yourself some champagne, celebrate not only the race win, but also the Formula 3 Constructors Championship win as well. And yeah, we can't wait to hopefully see you back again here for Canada, and then also Zandvoort and Silverstone, the final 2 races of the season as well. So say a couple more races to go, and it's now going to be an interesting fight, I believe, for the Drivers' Championship. So you two, it's going to be no love lost now. I imagine you two are just going to be battling amongst each other and really trying to see who's the quicker in Drive X.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will push each other. So thank you, and yes, I will be here. I think both of us in the last 3 races. So cheers, everyone.
Awesome, thank you very much, mate. See you later.
So now coming back to Antonio, obviously P2, still great result, locked in the championship for your team.
Yeah.
Congratulations with that. You also stole the fastest lap from Victor there. Right after he set his 24.487, you set your 24.461. Very quick.
Wow.
Quicker than quali as well, both of you.
Yep.
Quicker than pole time, which is just amazing. We were not sure how you guys were so quick during the race. I mean, not sure what to ask you there, except for how you feel about the, you know, locking in the championship and now having to fight it out with Victor for the Drivers' Championship.
Oof. Well, I need a miracle to win, Victor, but anything is possible. The setup was like the Germany, a little more wings, and the gears adjusted for this circuit. Um, the race, well, Frederick has started much better than me, and after all, Victor has given me his slight slipstream for protect me, but Frederick was much smarter going inside the second corner, and that was not being able to see him. He could close me, and he passed. I can close this turn and without see hit. Then Brandon also tried it in the next corner, but with cold tires, he so bitter of it. The rest of us would have done. And I started behind Frederick. My intention was not to overtake him in T1, but since then the next straight is longer and he could return it to me, but he had the bad luck to touch the curb, I think, and lose the car.
Yeah.
After that, I was more or less tracing Victor's time, but he was a few tenths faster, I think. After the pit, I noticed the car was very with very understeer, and I didn't push anymore. I stayed second, waiting for what might happen, and being able to reach the finish line.
Yeah, I mean that's guaranteed. That mindset guaranteed you a team's championship throughout the whole season. I mean, you still have a few rounds to go, and you've already locked that in. So that's the mindset you need for great results, it seems. So I want to say congratulations to both of you guys. Congratulations on you for another second place, and to your teammate for a race win for the championship. And hopefully we'll see you again 2 weeks from now. Is there anyone you'd like to thank as the last word?
Well, congratulations to Victor for a great race, and congratulations for the team.
Yeah.
No more to say. We win. Yeah.
Nah, I think you just want to go for that champagne bottle.
That's it. Thank you.
Awesome, mate.
Congratulations to both of you. See you next time.
See you.
Hopefully
Guys.
we'll see you out again here in Canada for the next round. But yeah, that'll be it. So that's us here for the iFormula League Formula 3. And again, Carlos, once again, amazing pleasure to share the booth with you. And
Yep, same
again,
here.
it's one of those races where Formula 3 always provides such high energy action, right? Like, we have 24 drivers, arguably some of the closest grids that we have in the league currently, and it is, as I say, absolutely incredible. But as always, we'll put up the race results for the final time here for you, and if you want to get involved with all the action, just follow us there on iFormulaLeague.com. Make sure you get in touch with everything, and again, we want to give a massive shout out to our sponsors to make everything that we do possible here. Major's Garage for your car setup needs, TD Designs for any design work that you need doing. They are the ones to get you covered. Butt Kicker obviously providing us with some amazing prizes at the end for every single championship here, and then SRM Mods providing for, I believe, Formula 3. So whoever ends up winning between Victor Barris and Antonio Jimenez, I believe one of them is going to be getting a brand new wheel, so that's going to be really cool. And then, as we mentioned before, VPG Sim as well for providing discounts to any of the driver winners. And then I believe there was also Siemens who's helping us get some trophies made and some track pieces made, so that'll be really cool to see, and hopefully we can get a few photos of those as well put into the Discord when they get made and when the season's all wrapped up. So yeah, I mean, as I say, we give a massive shout out to everyone, and we can't go racing without them. Obviously the admin group and all the drivers involved. Obviously without the drivers we wouldn't be here, and without the fans cheering us on and supporting us, again, we can't do this. So we want to give a massive shout out to everyone here, and yeah, it's just absolutely incredible to be a part of this league. And yeah, we'll hopefully see you again for Canada. Can't wait to see you all then. But now, this has been Alyssa, that's been Carlos, and we'll see you next week.